Welcome to F1 2018. Specifically, welcome to this preview of F1 2018 Career Mode. Part number 1, because there's a lot to get through and we can't get through all of it in one video, but part 1 of this Career Mode preview. So, I got invited to an F1 2018 UK PR event today on Thursday. As I post this video earlier in the morning, I went to go play F1 2018 for about, I think, 2 and a bit hours, and I got to play through a bit of Career Mode and also do some other one-off races. So there'll be a bunch of videos coming up on the channel over the next couple of days. So if you're new around here, do hit that subscribe button down below the video, or just go on my channel page and click that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss a video. There'll be a whole load coming up, but in this video today, we're going to start off and check out the Career Mode, and specifically all the new cutscenes surrounding the interviewer, your new mechanic, your new kind of paddock areas. There are new areas of the paddock that are unlocked now in this game that they're going to show you off, and also obviously all the new mechanics to the game. You've got the interview system, which has been talked about quite a lot, also showing you the contract screens in more detail, and then also that R&D tree, which has changed a lot. All of those I've done separate videos on in the past, couple of weeks basically, on as the news has trickled in. There's a whole playlist, in fact, so I'll try to link the playlist in the description or the annotation, so you can check out everything literally in one entire place. But yeah, making our way through then our character creation. They've got a few different helmets at the bottom now, but not too many, if that's what you're wondering, in terms of most of the helmet designs are there from F1 2017. And then also this year, which is different, you can see they've got a long list of audio names. So if you're, unlike me, if you have a very normal name, you can choose your name in the audio. And so David Croft, obviously, when he's doing the grid sequence, he can actually say your audio name, just like in FIFA per se. Obviously, my name, Arav, is a bit too complicated to have in the game, but if you have like a very kind of, I guess, English or normal European name, I guess you can find your name on the list. Very much kind of like FIFA. I never get my name on FIFA, but anyway, we move through then to this screen where we're going to look through the team choices, and obviously you can pick any team you want to start off your career mode. You can see the pecking order there. Ferrari at the moment at the top. Remember though, this is still a month or so out from the game, so I suspect the team can tweak this, but for now, Ferrari on top, just about ahead of Mercedes by an edge. And I guess you could say by the halfway point we've got to the Hungarian Grand Prix in real life, I would agree with that. The Ferrari definitely is just maybe a little bit better than the Mercedes, but they're very, very much on level par. Then you've got the Red Bull, of course. Then there's probably a big leap, and then you've got Renault, Haas, McLaren, Force India, Toro Rosso, Alfa Romeo, Sauber down there, just ahead of Williams. Williams being the worst car in the game. I think we can all agree on that. I think a lot of us maybe thought Sauber were going to be that car, but I think the Williams definitely is going to be the worst car on the game. So if you want to do a road to glory kind of career mode, I guess, on your own save game, then I guess Williams might be the team to choose, or you still might go with Sauber because they've got a good feel about them. But we're kind of just going through slowly here, going through each team. You can see on the bottom right, each team has its own attitude preference of showmanship or sportsmanship. We've talked about that in interviews. You can answer in a specific way to be a bit more sportsmanlike or be a flashy, showy kind of character, and you're going to have to kind of think about, okay, what kind of thing does my team like? If I'm driving for Ferrari, in this example, they like a showman. I need to be flashy, my answers, confident, exuberant, an Italian bit of exuberance, but I can't try and work that into your interview answers and pick the answers that are a bit more out there, rather than the kind of PR safe ones, which the teams like Mercedes love to hear. So you got to think about that, because also that matters if you do want to go to Mercedes, let's say, later on with your contract negotiations. You're going to have to make sure then the team like you in that aspect, so you're going to want to answer questions more in a sportsmanlike manner. So definitely a lot of stuff to think about even before you choose your team there. But let's get into it and let's get introduced to F1 2018 Career Mode.
Thanks for coming by. I'm sure you're very anxious to get out on track. It's taken a lot of effort to get to F1. Congratulations. But the real work starts now. This is
Claire, motorsports journalist. Nice to meet you. You'll be seeing quite a lot of me throughout the season. So, you had a pretty impressive junior career. How are you feeling about your move into F1? Do you think you have what it takes?
Let's save the questions for a proper interview, shall we? I'm sure you'll have a lot more to talk about once there's been some action on track. I think we could fit you in after FP1 if you're free.
That works for me. I'll grab you the second you finish on the track.
Remember, the relationship you have with the team can be affected by what you say to the media, so be careful. Anyway, it's time to catch up with Carl. He's waiting for you in the data center. Good luck out there today.
Welcome to the data center. Here, we've got access to all kinds of information, including car telemetry, weather, lap times, tyre wear, the list goes on. Plus, we've got a direct link back to the factory, so we're in constant communication with the team there. We need you to regularly feedback about areas of the car that are lacking and help us direct our resources in the most productive way. More effort here equals a quicker car, so it's well worth the effort. Good luck this season. Oh, and make us all look good, okay?
So a really nice new intro to the F1 2018 career mode world there with the interviewer and also our new engineer. And you can see the entire new hub with our teammate Sebastian Vettel sitting down alongside us.
Welcome to your new team. There's no one with a more storied history than Ferrari. You're going to have to give it everything to live up to that heritage. It's going to be hard work, but when you see the Tifosi cheering you at Monza, it'll all be worth it. Here you can see the pertinent details about your current contract. On one side are the objectives and bonuses that we've negotiated with the team. On the other is information regarding how you're perceived throughout the paddock, your reputation with the current team, and your overall value to them, which is a combination of these elements. Winning rivalries is a great way to earn respect from your team and around the paddock, which will help make it easier to negotiate favourable contracts. Your first rival is always your teammate, but you can choose who to declare as your second. The harder the rival from the eligible selection, the more respect you stand to gain or lose depending on the result.
So just taking a look at these menus then, of course, we've seen them a couple of times in some dev diary trailers, but this is the first time we can just really pause, calm down, and really look at them. Obviously, Emma talked through this page about the contract we've got at the moment. We've got no perks. We're expected to come second in the qualifying the race. We're the second driver for Ferrari, of course. With our teammate being Vettel, he's definitely going to be the first driver. You can see there we can get a 400 bonus for actually coming fifth or above there in 2 race weekends time. So little bit better of a way to do it. In last year's game, you used to get very random sporadic sponsor bonuses. In this way, it looks like you can earn a bonus of 400 if you match that goal over 2 race weekends. Then we start off with 2,000 at the top there, but no perks on the race bonus, upgrade, speed, the pit stop efficiency and whatnot. Obviously though, as we found out in the previous F1 2018 news, over the course of the season now, you have about 3 or a couple more attempts to negotiate contracts, not only with other teams, but also your own team. So you can upgrade your own contract and actually get some of those perks and get some of those pit stop efficiencies, for example. But you have to make sure that your contract value is high enough, that your value is high enough to warrant that, essentially. You know, if you're a newbie in Formula 1, you're not going to warrant a fancy new contract. So keep that in mind. But we're going to move on then to the R&D tree for the first time, seeing that in action, of course, that fog of war that we've talked about. So no longer, unlike 2017, you can't see the entire tree. So unlike last year, you can't really pre-plan or see what's coming up ahead. You just kind of have to take a stab into the dark, which is exactly like it is in real-life Formula 1. They don't know what upgrades are possible 8 months down the road at the end of the season, at the very start in Australia. So just like that, in the game, it's going to be like that. So you have to just take a wild guess what's better. Of course, also this year, the R&D trees are completely unique to each team as well, so there'll be some variety there, and I'm going to be showcasing that in a different video. Actually, I went through and kept on restarting the career mode here on this build I had at the PR event to kind of to show you guys the different R&D trees. But there is how everything stands, of course, on the actual pecking order. The top 3 teams, of course, Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull, well ahead of the midfield pack, and Alfa Romeo and Williams just lagging a little bit behind. And then, just like last year, obviously, you have to manage the engine components and the gearbox. But like this year in real life Formula 1, we only have 3 internal combustion engines this time around, only 2 MGU parts, so it's going to be a real tough order. Just like real life, we're going to have to really work at making sure components go a long way, or we're going to have to face the consequences of a lot of penalties during the season. But let's speaking about the season, let's get into the Australian Grand Prix practice.
Welcome to Melbourne, where the practice session is about to start for this weekend's Australian Grand Prix. The pre-race talking is over. Now it's time for the drivers to show their worth. An opportunity here then for the drivers to learn the track and learn the car, and of course work out all the little kinks that show up when the teams put these cars together at the circuit. Anthony Davidson, this is all very familiar to you, of course, so why don't you give us an idea as to what the drivers will be getting up to in these sessions?
I'd say the first responsibility for drivers during pre-practice is in gathering data for correlation purposes, which allows the engineers to match real-life data against the simulation. Secondly, the driver then needs to dial themselves into a circuit that they may not have driven around for a full year, which is a fact that's often overlooked. And then you finally focus on the details of car setup and the tyre wear. It's critical to have a good relationship with your engineer here so they can make the right adjustments at the right time to the car that ultimately bring out the performance you're looking for.
So here we are then in our new cockpit in the Ferrari here, FP1 Australian Grand Prix. We've got the halo there, and you can see the just like in real life, the way the teams split their screens on the left and the right there. But we can go in and see those practice programs that make a return for F1 2018. You can see there though, we've got an extra ERS deployment practice program. So again, the addition of ERS, which if you're not familiar with Formula One, ERS being the electrical energy from the turbo and also the kinetic energy from the brakes being harvested again to be sent back into the engine. That is in the game this year for the first time. They've modeled that deployment, and so if you can either put it on automatic if you don't want to faff around with it, or you can put it on manual like I did for this one. And so you're going to have to manually go through the different deployment zones of none, low, medium, overtake, and hot lap mode. And so I thought that would be quite fitting since it's the newer kind of pro practice program in the game. I thought I'd go through that practice program in this video in the gameplay and see how it was. So you can see if I open up the MFD on the right hand side there, at the very bottom you can see the deployment there of the ERS. So just like fuel, you toggle it. The fuel has the lean, the normal, and the rich, the standard, and the rich mix. The ERS has those different modes of none, low, medium, overtake, and hot lap. Obviously, when you're on qualifying, you're going to be in hot lap. If you're trying to overtake someone, the hope is you use overtake mode and rich mix to try and do that. But you can clearly see at the moment on the bar, we're in the low green there because I've got it on medium. So I set it down to low, and I try and play around with it. At first, I didn't really get how dramatic it was going to be, but it is very dramatic actually. If you put it in low, you can see straight away we've climbed up half that green bar, and then if you put it into overtake mode, equally it goes down and drains quite a lot. So I think this practice program is going to genuinely be very helpful for not only me but a lot of you guys at home, because the ERS I found in other races I did, which there'll be some gameplays of that later on the channel in the coming later this week. I did find it a challenge, genuinely. ERS, to manage it, along with the fact you have to manage fuel, you have to manage driving well, trying to overtake cars, defend from cars. It was quite a bit, and I kind of grew to appreciate Formula 1 drivers a little bit more, the amount they actually maybe have to do in the cockpit of managing stuff like ERS and other dials and switches. So it definitely is going to be an actual challenge. It's not a throwaway novelty if you were maybe wondering about the ERS deployment. So that's a new practice program. The others return, obviously track alignization and all that other good jazz that you have to try and do for R&D points. Of course, you don't have to do those. You can skip through them if you want to just fire through the career mode. But of course, if you want to actually generally grow your team, let's say you're doing a road to glory, you're going to want to do those practice programs. But now let's dive into interviews for the very first time. We're going to end FP1 and we're going to dive straight in with Claire with those first questions ever in Formula 1.
The fans really seem to enjoy that. You made it look easy.
Of course they did. I was driving.
It's been a lot of hard work. But here you are, making your debut in Formula 1. You must be thrilled.
Right, so here we go. The very first time-pressured question I'm given. And let me tell you, it was actually a struggle to quickly read through all four answers before giving the final answer to Claire each time.
So how are you finding things at the team? Are you settling in?
So here she starts asking questions that could potentially give you showmanship or sportsmanship perks. I don't think the one I gave here, this was quite a middle answer, so it didn't give one. It wasn't too polarizing.
What are you expecting out of this season? Are you just aiming to find your feet in Formula 1, or do you see something more?
Now, this question, I thought we'd try a bit more polarizing. I'm going to go for the bottom one there about being, in 50 years' time, I'm going to, people are going to talk about my rookie season.
Appreciate your time.
And you can see there, I got the showmanship perk. So I answered in a way which is flashy, and of course, that's good for my team, Ferrari. So you're going to want to think like that, and obviously you don't have a lot of time to think of. You don't have a lot of time to actually think about that. So you can see where the pressured kind of bit of the time pressured interview comes in, basically.
We've received...
Welcome to Melbourne, where qualifying for the Australian Grand Prix should be getting underway shortly. And as we count down to that green light, I have to say, Anthony Davidson, that this rain is not showing any signs whatsoever of abating. I imagine we'll be looking at some last-minute setup changes to better adapt these cars to the conditions. What do you think?
The trouble is, Crofty, they need to be thinking about the race tomorrow. You don't want to go jacking up the ride heights and piling on a few points of extra downforce that you're not going to want in the Grand Prix itself. The Parc Fermé regulations mean that you have to make that choice. The best thing the drivers can do is adapt with the tools they have available in the cockpit. Moving the brake bias forward will help stop the rear end slipping out under braking, and opening up the differential can really help tame the oversteer on corner exit. The drivers that can make best use of these techniques will have the best chance for success here today.
Right, so we moved into qualifying then, the last part of the video, and we'll leave the race for part number 2 video of the preview, otherwise this video will be far too long. But also just need to preface that at this PR event, for the first pretty much 2/3 of the event, I was recording and playing on a PS4 with a controller, so the gameplay you're seeing in terms of the actual driving and stuff isn't really going to be too revealing, I guess, in terms of how the car handles, you know, the way I can chuck the car around, because it's not my home setup. I did have some wheel gameplay to record, and I will upload that eventually on the channel later this week, but even that was on a rig and a setup that I'm just not used to. And if you guys are wheel users yourself, you'll know you need to be really comfortable with your own setup that you're using there. So there's never going to be a real representation, but obviously you can get a nice visual look at the game. I think that, you know, I've said it before, I don't really ever know how they step it up every year on F1 games, because it is just driving around the same circuits every single year, but they somehow manage to make these circuits and the environment look so much better. You know, we've talked about the cloud technology they brought in for this year's game, which you can make all the jokes you want. It really has been an improvement. You can see the difference there in terms of that sun peering through the clouds rather than just being all bleak and just pale grey. And you see that also in the normal dry conditions, that there are actually differences of how the circuit is lit up, and there's certain parts where the cloud is forming over, so it may not be as sunny, and so that's going to be something you have to contend with, because it could make blind spots on the circuit. You know, I've talked about plenty of times on F1 2017 about how annoyed I get at the low sun conditions in Australia and Bahrain practice, for example, because it always blindsides me into braking zones due to the sun glare in your eyes, and so it's something you have to think about. But yeah, visually you can get a look into F1 2018 there, but not really too much to show off. But there will be some awesome stuff to show in later videos with the AI. The AI are much improved this year, and the gameplay for part number 2 is going to showcase that pretty damn well. So if you're on your own here, like I said, do get subscribed for that part number 2. But that's going to be it for this part, guys. So if you did enjoy it, hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, as I said, do get subscribed. Hope you guys really did enjoy this video. I really did enjoy going over to this event and recording it. I'm really excited for you guys to see this video and part number 2 coming up probably tomorrow, I would say, a little bit earlier tomorrow, so look out for that. But I'll leave you with the kind of closing little cutscene, if you will, audio from this part of the career mode, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.
Tough luck there. It's not quite where we'd want to be on the grid, but chin up, it's not the end of the world.